Alrighty, I'm gonna start Sunrise on the Reaping, and I will be vlogging this. I'm about to go to work, so a lot of this will be done at work, but here I am. I'm gonna at least read a little bit here. Alright, I'm 2 chapters in, about to start chapter 3, and I'm not saying that the Hunger Games weren't heartbreaking, because they were. But there's something about that reaping specifically that was so horrible to read. I am curious if they go more into like the production of the Hunger Games, because it seems like they already are with, like, you know, how they treat it like a reality TV show. I'm really interested to see if that comes up anymore. But I mean, I'm gutted. Also, there's some gays. But this is gonna be really sad, isn't it? Alright, some things that have caught my attention from chapters 3 and 4 is Plutarch is such an interesting character in this book specifically, just because of everything that we know about in the Hunger Games. And also, I'm so curious about how the 4 of the tributes are going to work together and like to what extent they do. It kind of seems like it's gearing up to be that way. I'm also like increasingly interested about Measley's death, and I saw a theory that her and her twin may have like switched places, and I feel like it's possible, but maybe not because of the jewelry and all of that stuff. And I guess now we know for sure about the Mockingjay pin, so that's really cool. Something that's unique, I think, about the concept of the Hunger Games and actually reading the books is that you know how it's gonna end. Like, especially this one, it's a prequel. Like, you know who wins, you know everyone that's gonna die. But yet, you find yourself hoping that somehow their future is gonna change and that somehow they're all gonna live. I was not expecting Luella to die like that. And once again, I am blown away by how Suzanne Collins is diving into the propaganda of it all and like the showmanship of the games and everything that they do. I think that's fascinating, and I think she does a really good job of like showing how everything progresses. And I know already that the end is gonna be awful. Can't wait. Actually, I can. I also think it's really interesting to look at like the progression of the games, because it's like we have like very early games and we have like later games, and it's interesting to see like the middle and like how it progresses and like who's involved and why. This is a mini update for chapter 7 because I just feel like a lot happened. And one, I love seeing characters from the other books. Seeing Max and Iris is so cool, and I really liked to be able to like explore their personalities. I should have done a reread of the trilogy before jumping into this, but I didn't. So anyway, this line I think sums up so much of the series in general. They just throw a big party and box up our bodies like presents for our families back home. That's crazy. I don't know if I got the quote right, but you can definitely like see Haymitch's like thought process, and you can really see it changing as he's training and like as he's like digging into what's happening, and having like Plutarch there behind him being like, you could have killed us, is wild. Like, it really is a giant show, and it's like you knew that in the trilogy. Like, it's known that they cut things out and they slice things together. It's literally just like reality TV, but it's like so much bigger than I originally thought. Alright, just finished chapters 8 and 9, which gets us to the beginning of part 1. I'm listening to this book really slow because I really don't want it to end. And yeah, a few big takeaways. One, they can and will rig the reaping and the games. So all those people that were like Prim was chosen. It was rigged. It probably was. Anyway, I also, seeing Beatty and his storyline, my heart broke. Also, Snow is evil, and I don't know if it's just that I'm older reading these, or that I understand it more, or the political climate that we're in, but these games are hitting so much harder than the first time I read them. I think it's just because that you can build upon all of the horrible nature of them, and it gets worse and worse and worse. But they're awful. And like I said, Plutarch is such an interesting character, and they're doing very interesting things with him that I didn't even know that he was as involved as he was. And I think it's because it's been a really long time since I've read the books. Yeah. I see why Snow kills his family now. And I wish I didn't. I'm so interested to see what happens in the arena. I'm just fascinated by this whole story. All right, this is 10 through 12. Yeah, I wish I had words. First of all, bringing Luella back like that is evil. That's evil. Like, to force someone to train with someone that's not really who they are is crazy. Like, I knew that they were bad. On top of that, I really like the relationship between the four of them, and you can tell how much Haymitch cares and how much he's really smart. And I'm excited to see, obviously, the drowning of the arena doesn't happen, so I'm excited to see, like, why doesn't that happen, and like what happened, and like what happens with Beatty's child. That's crazy still. And giving him a 1, hello, I think that's gonna come back to bite them, because I think it does the opposite of put a target on him, and it makes people like wonder and think more. And I'm curious to see how that comes into play during the actual interviews. And I think we just met Effie. It's so fun to see all of the old characters that like we know come back. Yeah, these 3 chapters just show how evil the Capitol is, and how much control they have, because that's all they want. They want control, and they're able to manipulate things and manipulate footage in a way that shows them the best and like what they want out of the games. But yeah, and I wonder who the Luella double is. Like, is it just this random girl that they found? Like, who is she? Oh God, I'm scared. I'm so scared. Yeah. All right, that's 13-14. I don't know how to feel about Plutarch still. I feel like the books do a good job of exploring goodness and badness within people, and he's a very interesting and developed character. Do I think he's a good guy? No, not really. Do I think he's a bad guy? Not really. I think there's a lot of nuance within his character, and I think we're learning more in this book than I really, just like I said earlier, I didn't think we were going to get so much on him. But it makes sense. I'm just, yeah, I don't know. I'm shocked, and it seems like he wants to stop the games, but at the same time, he still dresses them up. He still helps in the 74th and 5th, and it's confusing, because it's like, what do you want? What's your motivation? And I still don't know. Maybe I'm missing something, because it's been a while since I've read the original trilogy, but I don't know. It's interesting. other than that, there's a good 2 chapters. I'm ready for the games to start. Alright, we're at 15 and 16. That's how I feel. There's so much going on, and I am so overwhelmed with everything that's happening. Seeing Lulu die like that was awful, because like not only does she die once, she really died twice. And I'm surprised that Wyatt was one of the first ones to die. I'm very interested in all the poisons and everything that they have in the arena, and it seems like the arena is like pretty, like it's like nice to look at, so that will be interesting. I'm interested to see like when everyone kind of links up and like what happens, because obviously the plan doesn't work, but like why and how and like what happens instead. I'm nervous. I'm like shaking. I'm like, what is going to happen next? So Also the fact that they had Luella with like a chip in her ear, like repeating what they're telling her, is terrifying. All right, I'm done with part 2. I'm getting near the end of the book, and it's getting a little scary. I am fascinated that they even let him down to the water tank. Like, I'm fascinated that they even let him that far. I am curious as to why they haven't killed him yet, because Snow like wants him dead. So I don't know if at this point they figured out that maybe they should let him live and kill everyone that he's loved. That's a better punishment than just killing him. Or if he's giving enough like TV and personality that they should keep him around, because it'll make the games more interesting. I don't know. This story adds so much to other characters' stories too, especially BD and his other characters, which is interesting. I assume he'll find Maisley eventually. I don't know where she is. I know she makes it toward the top, I think, like top 4, 6, something like that. I'm curious as to how all of the careers also die, but I guess we'll see. Yeah, there's really not much else to say. I'm just in awe, and it's just so sad and scary, but yeah. All right, just finished 19 through 21, I think. I didn't realize how much we didn't know until I started reading this book. There's so much that, like, information that we just weren't privy to, that we just weren't told. And I think it's because a lot of the I think they chopped up this game specifically because there's so much going on, and I know that they don't want Haymitch to find what he's probably going to find. And I wish he would stop trying to go after that maze. But man, he's so perseverant, and I really like that, in a different way than Katniss was. I'm really scared for Maisley, and like I know what's gonna happen, but I'm scared anyway. And I wish that I could have like I need like a model, I need like a visual of this arena, because I have no idea what it looks like. I mean, like, I kind of know, but I need like a visual of it, so I need a picture. I forgot to say that I really like the evolution of Haymitch and Maisley's, is that her name? Like, relationship, and how like they're like brother sister now, and it's really cute. I think that their relationship is really interesting. I think it's going to become really important, because that's like the only connection he has to home right now, or like they have to each other, because everyone else is gone. When I say I am distraught, literally just last video, I was like, I love their relationship. It's gone. I think something that I've noticed is how like quick and mundane, in a way, all of the tributes die. And I'm also surprised, like, you're telling me there's just a giant generator outside of the arena? That's funny. Like, it's just there. But I guess that also explains like how the force field works, like how Haymitch is going to use it. I'm really, because it seems like the 3 that are left, Haymitch and the other 2, are like sort of bonding. So I'm curious as to how it goes from bonding to killing, or if that's sort of the point. But I'm really sad. It was sad to see Maisley go. Anyway. Because, like, also you don't have time to, like, mourn what's happening. Because you're, like, so... You have to be so focused on staying alive that you can't even mourn the people that are gone. And I think it's, like, finally, even, like, to the reader, like, it's getting to me, like, just how horrible it is. And like I said, I don't know why it just didn't hit me the same way in the Hunger Games. I think it's because, like, in the Hunger Games, there was this air of, like, will it end the same way? But in this one, it's like, we know how it ends. And I think that makes it worse. But also, like, interesting, you know? I'm getting to the point of the book where I just don't even have words anymore. It just helps to make a lot of the actions in the later books, I think, make sense. You know? And, like, he has so much hope right now in, like, the cause that's going to be ripped away from him. But in a way, I think it also helps to know that, like, Katniss finishes what he starts here, even if she doesn't really know it. I didn't know that he just blows everything up at the end. I thought it was just the force field, and, like, that's why they were so mad at him, but I guess it's more than that. And I just, wow. I don't know how the rest of this is going to shake out. Like, I know what happens, but I don't know how. Okay, I finished chapter 25. I think that, and I wrote this down while I was listening, is that the stories of Katniss and Haymitch are very similar, but they're, like, also the opposite, because Katniss was manipulated to become a leader when she wasn't necessarily looking for that. She was literally just trying to get back home, just trying to survive, right? While Haymitch had the opposite intention going into the games. He wanted to become a leader. He wanted to become a rebel, but ultimately was manipulated to become just there for survival and just there for himself. So he comes across as so arrogant because they changed the whole story. They changed the whole thing. All of it. And that, along with his family dying, is probably why he took it so hard. That's why he is the way that he is. It's because he can think that Katniss can change everything, but he knows ultimately that the Capitol is always going to manipulate people into believing their Capitol is always going to manipulate the constituents into something that it wasn't. They're going to be able to manipulate people into believing that something is there when it's not. And ultimately, he's right, and that's exactly what happens until the very end of the book. Jules is here for my wrap-up. Say hi, Jules. I finished the book. I forgot to film a wrap-up, so I'm filming it now. This might be my favorite Hunger Games book. I think that with life experience and with the current political climate comes a different reading perspective, and I really enjoyed that reading it this time. My first time reading the Hunger Games, I was like, I don't know, 12, and so now I'm almost 25, and that perspective difference is a lot, and I think you read it under a different context and a different lens, and I think that was my favorite part about reading it now. It did kind of bring me back to the old fandom days, which, you know, I love, so I will never get tired of that. As for the book, I thought it was absolutely gorgeous. It was beautiful. I really liked it. I rate it 5 stars. Maybe I'm being soft. I really liked it. I think that the concept of these books is absolutely fascinating, and I don't know what happened in Suzanne Collins' head to make these stories as amazing as they are, but I think it reflects a lot about us as a society as well. From the book lore itself, I really liked Maisley. I know everyone does, but I loved her. I think she was fantastic. I think it is so messed up how everyone dies, especially Haymitch's family, and I think it's really interesting how closely this book lines up to Catching Fire, and it's just the major, like, differences that you just don't see. I also think that, like I said in the video previously, I just think more context is added, which makes the characters' stories deeper, and makes the characters' intentions more known, which I think helps when you're rewatching and rereading the first 3 books, and then also Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I am really sad. It's a really sad book. I think my overwhelming feeling is sad, but I think there's a lot of really interesting implications as well, and I think that we need to forget that. I think sometimes we forget that Snow is a bad person. It doesn't matter what he did in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Snow is a bad person, and I think we needed that reminder a little bit. By far my favorite scene was Haymitch drinking the milk. Hilarious. Literally so good. Apart from that, I'm absolutely devastated by the geese, so that's what I'll be thinking about forever.